Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anissa Franklin. I am the Chief Administrative Officer with the Urban League of Lexington, and it is my pleasure to serve as today's host of Workforce Wednesday webinars. Today, we'll be talking with a couple of gentlemen who own their own mental health service practices within Pulaski and Fayette and surrounding counties. But first, I want to take this moment to just thank our sponsors, which are Truist, as well as Toyota Tusho, for their continued support of our workforce development initiatives. So moving on, I want to just talk a little bit about Workforce Wednesday webinars and what they are. So earlier last year, we developed a webinar series that will help individuals improve their professional development and to give them an opportunity to build skill sets, new skill sets, as well as find employment. And so these Workforce Wednesday webinars were created. Now we do showcase this event on Facebook Live, and then we also put the information on our YouTube channel. So if you have missed one of the previous sessions, feel free to visit us on Facebook Live, where you'll see some other videos there, or visit us on YouTube. And before I bring our co-host on today, I first want to tell you about a program that the Urban League is doing right now between now and December of 2022. We call it Healthy at Home. And what we're doing is providing up to $1,200 worth of assistance for individuals living within Fayette County in Census Tracts 1 and 2, which is simply the downtown area. It goes over towards William Wells Brown, touches over where LTMS is, as well as Harrison. So if you live kind of in that vicinity, feel free to go check out this link here, the Cutley site, and you'll see the different streets that are those streets that we are assisting with some small home repairs as well as rent, up to $1,200 or 3 months of rent. If you have any questions about any of that, feel free to give us a call, 859-233-1561. And with that, I want to welcome Nathan Fisher to the screen. Nate, if you would turn on your video, as well as Daniel Lee. Get Daniel to turn on his video. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us today. As you all know, we do have some folks who have joined us via the Zoom link, meaning that they can ask their questions aloud. I am asking them, however, if you want to chat your question, feel free to do that. Or if you would like to ask your question live, turn on your video so that I can acknowledge you, and then we'll move on from there. We are also monitoring the Facebook chat as things are progressing there. And without further ado, we'll get started. So Daniel and Nate, thank you both so much for being here today. And I hope, let me say this too, I don't want anybody to take me calling them by their first names as disrespect. I've known both of these gentlemen for 6 years plus. So to me, they are Nate and Daniel, and we'll just carry on a conversation. If you have questions, feel free to ask. So I want to start with you, Nate. Tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about your company.
All right, my name is Nate Fisher. I'm the owner of Quez Counseling in Somerset, Kentucky. We've been open for about 5 years now. Recently, we opened up a office in Stanford. We serve all ages, starting around ages from 3 to 4, all the way up to 75 or 80. We have a team of therapists who specialize in different things, marriage and family, depression, anxiety, you name it, we probably cover it. So we see people up in person, as well as offer telehealth to people all over the state. So, and thanks for having me. I'm very glad
to have you here. Daniel, same question. Tell us who you are and a little bit about your company.
Well, first of all, my name is Daniel Lee. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. Also, I am an ordained minister, the pastor of Marble Creek Baptist Church. I am the owner and CEO of Counseling Associates, as well as Human Development Company. Human Development Company is our employee assistance program We are a national company that provide counseling services for companies' employees. They just simply call the 1-800 number and they can receive counseling for those services. Now, Counseling Associates is the company that my wife and I created. 1999 is when we started. In 2002, we moved to our current location. And since then, we have an office here in Lexington, office in Georgetown. We also have an office in Louisville. We provide anything dealing with mental health. We do substance abuse treatment. We have a target case management team. Everything from, as the gentleman said, as young as 5 all the way up to senior citizens. We provide counseling services, and the goal and purposely we have focused on the underrepresented, underserved population. So we accept all insurances, including Medicaid, because often those individuals are the ones that are neglected. And so we have, and also I purposely have a very diverse staff to meet all individuals that need services.
Thank you. So you guys are doing a whole lot and serving a lot of people, and we could not be more proud, especially in the mental health space, because as we know, African Americans tend to not take care of their mental health in a way that is, I'm going to say, on par with the predominant race within the country. So I'm glad to see that 2 African American men are doing their part in making mental health more of a normal kind of thing that we should all take into great consideration when just knowing who we are and how we're handling things. And so as we move into talking about mental health in the workspace, or the title that I kind of gave it was Working While Black. What we saw, in the past couple of years with the pandemic and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, we've had a lot of people who are asking their, I'm going to say, African-American colleagues or others who don't look like them, like how should I move about interacting with you, or how can I understand? And so what I've seen from friends and family is that, like, hey, I am African-American, but I don't represent the entire race. And that is causing some tensions. And I've heard of many microaggressions and things happening in the workplace. So either one of you who wants to take this on, how do we as a minority in the majority world, how do we handle these microaggressions and things that we might see in the workplace?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to be honest with ourselves. I think it is essential that we know who we are individually as we address those, because one of the things that is so important is making sure that we are very comfortable who we are, so that when these things come, we don't take it personal, but we are able to identify it and accurately, inform. Because I think, unfortunately, as a people, we have been marginalized and minimalized so often that we ourselves start to take on some of those things that are not accurately identifying us. Because this is what, media, movies, entertainment is depicting us to be. And sometimes if you are not careful, you buy into some of those stereotypes. So the first thing is, being very aware of who you are. I always tell people, I have to always be mindful that anywhere I go, I take a 6'5", 6'7", 330-pound Black man. And I say that because, when people make the statement, I don't see color. Well, that's like saying me, you don't see me. How can you not see 6'7", 330 pounds? So it's, being very keenly aware of who you are, and then being able to be comfortable enough to let them know, with certain things that you're saying, you might need it in a non-harmful way, but just because you didn't mean to harm doesn't mean you didn't harm. Because if I accidentally step on your toe, the result's still the same, a broke toe. And so it doesn't matter that I didn't intend to step on it, you still are in pain. So I think it is, it's essential that we know who we are, and then we start from there. And then also as parents, and it's important for us to instill that in our children, making sure that they are very comfortable with their, Blackness. I make sure my kids never shy away from, the fact that they are African American, that they are come from a proud, dominant, race of people. We're nowhere inferior. But if you are not careful, you buy into. And then also, it goes back, because I talk to my colleagues, when you're the majority, there's a responsibility on the majority to make sure you're sensitive to the minority. Because if I am not in power, how are you expecting me to be able to take control? It's not my responsibility to be mindful, it is yours. You're in a position of power.
Thank you, Daniel.
That was beautifully said. And I can agree more. I mean, and the very first thing is, we have to be comfortable with ourselves. We have to accept ourselves and to empower ourselves. And that's what therapy is too. It's getting to know you. And there's so many stigmas that keeps the Black race from doing that. But that's what it is. It's learning who you are so that you can be empowered. So when you are up in those situations, that you are ready for because you believe in you.
So Nate, I want to ask you another question, and that is like, how have you seen or have you worked with individuals where they're not knowing who they are in the workplace, they're coming to you for some counseling advice to be more settled in that? Like, have you seen just more of an uptick since the pandemic and things that you're seeing more people come to you about, just stressing out basically at work because of all the things that are happening?
Right. And to be honest, I see a lot of that from my friends and from my family. And it's really, I try to use from what I know to help to educate them upon who they are, because as Daniel said, we often kind of marginalize our ourselves, and we don't realize how powerful that we really are. And so it's teaching people to get comfortable with themselves, to empower themselves, to know that they don't have to stay up in these certain boundaries, that you can exceed this. And so sometimes as a culture, we kind of handicap ourselves trying to fit into, as Pastor would say, we try to fit up into places that we have outgrown, and we need to embrace that growth, and we need to expand ourselves and travel up outside of our comfort zones. So for me, I guess I do it up in work, but I do it for friends, for family, and stuff like that too. And I often go out and I speak at churches and things about these same things, and believing being yourself and growing and being powerful and reaching goals.
Thank you for that. Kind of a follow-up question for you, Daniel, is individuals who come to you who may talk about, just feeling uncomfortable in the workplace and trying to figure out, should they switch jobs and things along that line. What is some of the advice that you would give in helping them to understand who they are and be more confident in who they are and how they're presenting themselves in the workplace?
Well, the first thing I always ask them is, is what you do, what you love. Is the job that you're doing, something that you love? Is it what you have always envisioned yourself doing? And if that is the case, why now are you no longer comfortable in that job? What has happened? Because a lot of times it's not that the job itself is what they're having issues with. They're having issues with, the culture of the environment they're working in. And sometimes that is because you find yourself as the minority. There may only be one other person that looks like you. And when you're in that, environment, the conversations at the water fountain, or the coffee pot, when you walk up, it seems like all of a sudden everybody starts talking. And so even though nothing is said, volumes have been spoken. And so you're starting to feel uncomfortable, not because of anything you've done, but because of what you are experiencing. And then also, like talk about the microaggression, some of those, simple statements that people make, not realizing how they are, being insensitive and sometimes are actually degrading the whole race, making a comment, well, I didn't know that, you knew that, or certain things, they make assumptions about who we are with no idea of who we are. And then when it's pointed out, act as if I'm wrong for confronting you. And then, a lot of times I'll have, African-American women come and they'll express that if I am assertive, it's immediately said I'm aggressive. So I get, the angry Black woman, which why is it she's angry? Because she is addressing something that you've done that is inappropriate. And so it's just, so I always help them to understand, like, don't take on responsibility that is not yours, and don't feel that you have to, change where you are because of what other people are doing. In essence, that, they're causing us to run away from doing what we do. So a lot of times is helping them to become empowered and to feel confident, and then to know that you were not wrong to hold that person accountable for what they said or what they're doing. And like I said, I do a lot of trainings because, like I said, I own an EAP company with companies, helping educate them on the culture that they're working with them. Because a lot of times it's not that sometimes our counterparts are intentional, but I always explain to people, it doesn't matter if it was intentional or unintentional, the harm is still the same. If I, at 340 pounds, step on your toe, you still have a broke toe, whether I did it accidentally or intentional. The only difference is, if I did it intentional, you have a right to be more upset because I have now took purpose actions to do it. It was deliberate. And so that's the only difference. But the outcome is still the same. You got to go to the doctor. Your toe is broke.
That's a very good analogy. I love that. I think that one will live with everyone who is watching today's webinar. If anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and type those in the chat, or go ahead and turn on your video so that we can recognize you and ask that question. I'm happy to do that. So Nate, let's go back to you. So what are some strategies for handling mental health stress in the workplace?
Well, I think since the pandemic and things that are going on now, the stress loads are growing even higher. In my place, I tell people that I need you healthy. So one thing that we always talk on is self care. I want to know what people are doing for themselves outside of work to take care of themselves, so that whenever they're coming in, that they're sound mind, that they're healthy, that they are thinking clearly. And that's one thing that I really think is real big, because whenever people come here, I want the best from them. I think too that the times have changed. I feel like that people have been influenced by money. Nowadays, I really don't think that that's the case. I think that people want to be treated well. And so I'm always trying to make sure that I'm reaching out to people, I'm acknowledging people, I'm being just supportive. I'm listening to them. I'm taking time. I'm spending that time. I'm trying to educate them. I'm trying to train them and trying to help them to be the best up in which they can be.
Okay. So Daniel, kind of a follow-up question to that. I think you mentioned that, you go into employers and you provide some training and things to them. Is that Is that the norm that you see the employers coming to you, or is it, do you have a lot of employers that are paying for their staff to, receive the support that they need from entities like your own?
I wish it was the norm. No, it is not the norm, but yes, there are some companies that are becoming more proactive. I think that, platforms like this, where we're trying to educate people, is allowing people to become more aware. But yeah, there are some that do it, and when they do it, they are doing it, trying to be genuine. One of the things that I think is important for us as a people is in our jobs that we may work at. We can be proactive by letting it be known that there's certain things that are going on that you're not comfortable with, going to HR, going to the powers that be, and voicing concerns. Because one of the things that I am aware of from talking and having some open universities at different companies that I'm invited to, is sometimes the staff are the ones in power and not aware of what's going on below them. And when this information is known, they will take some steps to do it. So I'm suggesting that if you work in an environment, don't be afraid to go and let it be known, that I'm concerned about this. This is something that I need. And your company may be, inclined to provide that services. And then there's a lot of companies that do have employee assistance services where you can get counseling, and the company pays for it. It's free. You just call the 1-800 number. And again, a lot of employers provide it, but the employees either have forgotten or they don't know because it's not told enough to remind them of it. So one of the things that any company you work for, ask, do you have an employee assistance program? And then the other thing is, as a people, we have to get past this, the stigma of always thinking, and please hear me, I'm a pastor. There's nothing wrong with seeking help from the church, but you don't go to the doctor to get help when you have a broke leg. And the mind is the most important thing that you have. And your minister or your pastor may not be the most qualified person to do that. And it's not had any slight. I am a pastor, and I talk with a lot of other pastors, and they acknowledge that they often have people come to them and they will refer them to other people for the professional help. But sometimes we as a people are resistant to go because we want our pastor to be the one to provide the counseling. And he often is not the most qualified person to do that. He can counsel you spiritually, but when it comes into the more in-depth mental health, anxiety, depression, trauma, and things of that sort, sometimes you need to seek a professional trained person that has years of experience doing that.
Very nice, very nice. So Nate, let me follow up with you. There are times where the minority population, as Daniel mentioned, and I think you may have too, who just don't seek out counseling because we feel like counseling is, and pardon the pun or the expression, it's for crazy people, right? And so I think that we often see, if someone needs mental health services, that they are suffering from schizophrenia or some of the I'm just going to say more drastic kinds of things. But mental health is it comes at all levels. Even I will admit to having participated in some counseling a year ago, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. So what would you say to those people who hear mental health and, like, no, that's not me, I'm not crazy? What kinds of things would you say to them to let them know that it's okay to seek out counseling?
Well, and that's what I feel like I constantly do. Is I try, I feel like it is a goal of mine to break down that stigma. I often go to schools. I meet with teachers. I talk to teaching staffs. I go to churches, and just to promote it, because a lot of people don't understand what mental health really is. And to each of us, it means something different because we've all been through different things. And so I'm constantly trying to tell people that, it's okay not to be okay. Because, there's this perception as a man, we have to do it by ourselves. If we ask for any help, it's signs of weakness. If we're emotional, as signs of weakness. So I kind of feel like it's kind of my journey and my calling too, to kind of educate people upon these things, and let them know that it is okay, and we're all going through this thing of life. And when going through life, sometimes we got to learn to understand ourselves, because if we're dealing with all of our problems up in our own minds, it gets really confusing. And so, and nobody that I really deal with is schizophrenic or crazy. It's really people just struggling to try to understand themselves, and understand the mixed messages that they're constantly sending themselves upon a daily. But one problem that I think that we run up into is fear, because we've never done it. We don't know nobody that has done it. And so if we're going to do something that we don't know nothing about and that we don't understand, it's very fearful. And and I promote too, just trying to come for one time, because when people come in just once and realize that, hey, that's not so bad, it really turns up into a beautiful thing, and people get a whole lot from it.
Just figure back on what he just said. One of the things that I think we struggle to accept is, on this journey called life, no matter who you are, at some point in your life, you're going to struggle with some type of mental illness, because none of us have come to stay. And as a result, when someone dies, we will experience depression. The greater the love, the more we will hurt. And it is by design. And so, unfortunately, one of the things that we struggle with is accepting reality. Reality means if we live, we're going to have mental health issues. You can't get around it. But as a people, we have been conditioned to believe that we don't need to have anyone else help us with it. We are supposed to deal with it inside our homes. All of us probably know that uncle or that cousin or that one person that never left home. It's kind of a little strange. Rocked and spun. We all got in our family. That person has an illness, but the family cared and took care of the person, but they never got them any type of help outside of the house. And that has, carried on into society today for many of us. We feel that we are to take care of our stuff in the house, or we go to the church. And again, please don't misunderstand me. The church is always, I'm first, God is always first. But God equipped people with certain skills to help us. We just have to be brave and courageous enough to use them.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I got to say too, just want to add this in too. I feel like life got a lot easier for me when I realized that I don't have to do it all up on my own. When I learned how to use it, I learned how to ask questions. And there's a whole lot of people, and they come up to me and they think that I'm smart and I know this and I know that. I said, I'm really not. But what I do is I ask questions. If I don't know, that question is going to come out, and I'm not scared to ask nothing. And getting past that fear, and and feeling like you may be laughed at or be pointed at, those are the things that hold us back from getting to that next level. And that's what I'm trying to tell my kids, and tell people that in which I talk to, is like, hey, ask that question. Keep learning. Life is learning. But as long as we're trying to do things by ourselves, we're not learning nothing, because we only know so much. And you can learn from everybody, kids, adults, pastors, friends. I mean, everybody. So ask questions.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that when I was seeing my counselor, I called her my life coach. And I called her that because she was helping me to tap into the things of my past that I had coped with in a certain way that was no longer working for me. So it was a matter of going back and seeing some things, understanding why I did things, and then changing some things going forward. So for me, she was my life coach. It's like, no, it's time for me to have my meeting with my life coach. I need you to go on pause. So, in normalizing mental health, it is simply that it is someone who can help you to see why you do things the way you do. And as you said, Nate, to get to know who you are a little better. And then for me, too, she was a person that I could speak with, and I didn't have to worry about that conversation getting back to my mama and my cousin and so and them. So if you're thinking about just needing someone that you can talk to and that conversation stays there and they're not afraid to tell you what is true as opposed to what you want to hear, that is a perfect reason to seek out some mental health services. And so we have a question that came in, and it is, what mental health options are available for people with no money or no insurance?
There are some. My agency do some pro bono work. I think there are. One of the things I have to do is, unfortunately, you'll have to, do some work. You'll have to call. A lot of agencies will provide some pro bono. Now, of course, they're not going to be able to do it all, but there are. I actually go to the Lexington Rescue Mission and provide counseling there. And I know there's a lot of other therapists as well do pro bono work, and from time to time. And then one of the things is, if they don't have insurance now with affordable healthcare, they can get insurance. So a lot of times the therapist will work with them until they get, insurance. Like in my agency, that's one of the things we do. And when our target case managers, they will help. So we will, work with them and then assist them to get the insurance also, because, we all need insurance.
And I think too, and once you make that call, there will be people up on that phone who will help you there, or they're going to point you to the right direction. And just like like Daniel said, there's options. There's pro bono. There's people who help you to get your insurance. But the first thing is just to make that call, and the rest will kind of follow in place for you.
Now, kind of on another note, I've heard of different people who say they have someone in their family who does need counseling. And so they have taken it upon themselves to make that call and make that appointment for their family member. Does that work typically?
It's the person they have to want to do it themselves. Too often we see people know they need help, but knowing I need help doesn't mean that I'm going to be willing to take the help. And so, no, it's never wrong, because of one of the things that when families have family members who are suffering, that family member is suffering also. So sometimes, the family member who's calling don't know that they need counseling themselves. Yeah. And sometimes that's the most important thing, is the fact that they're calling, but they're failing to understand that, you are in the storm. Being a minister, I usually, narrative. When I had thyroid cancer, and this was before I had accepted my calling to be a pastor, to be a preacher, my whole family, my church family, everybody was worried, struggling, and crying and upset but me, because I knew that God had already said I was going to be a preacher. So, so everybody else was, worried about the storm and the raging, current. And I was down in the boat sleep, because I already knew I wasn't going nowhere. And so I say that because sometimes the person who you may feel is having the biggest issue are at most peace, but you're the one worrying and stressing. And sometimes, what you can do to help them is get help for yourself. Always remember, on the plane, it says to put the mask on you first.
Whenever we had first started, I think it was one of the first things up in which Daniel said. It was something along the lines of it's not the same words, but along the lines of we take on a lot of responsibilities that don't belong to us. And that's kind of the same thing. We're sitting here, we're saying, well, this person that they need this, but we need to help because we're dealing with them. And so we need help to set our boundaries and things of that nature, and help us to deal with those situations in which we're dealing with too.
So someone has put a link in the chat that is newvista.org slash my strength as a resource that individuals might connect with. I do believe that New Vista works with the Fayette County Public School System, and they are a nonprofit organization specializing in mental health. I think that is correct. If I'm wrong, check out their website anyway. You might find some useful tools there. Also, gentlemen, group therapy versus individual counseling. Well, we know what the difference is in numbers, but what is the difference? What is the difference?
Well, I think the going to group, it allows you to see too that there's other people who are going through those same struggles up in which you're going through. So and naturally, whenever we see somebody is going through some same things, that makes us feel better, and to know that we're not the only ones. And being up in that setting allows you to get some tips from those people up in order to help yourself. The individual is all about you, and that's where all the focus is. And like I said, it's really helping to learn you, the way that you think, the way that your triggers are, what they are, how you respond. So that's all about you. The group, you can learn from the whole group.
Yeah, I would totally agree with what my brother Nathan just said. Group therapy is, collectively you get to hear and learn from other people's experiences, the walk of life that they've had. It can help you better, grasp concepts that you might not have thought about by yourself. But I always tell people, group therapy often is in conjunction. Because the individual, when I go into the group, I still take me. But if I haven't dealt with me one-on-one, although I'm gaining from what I'm hearing, I still leave with all that I brought in. So it is essential for me to always be mindful that I still need to work on me. And in many settings, group therapy is done with substance abuse treatment, different, things that are more specific. But even in that process, that individual still needs to work on their own issues to better understand what are their triggers, what are the things that, led them to be where they are. And you can't do that, without having the individual work.
And let's talk about an individual a little bit. So if I am an employee, my desk is filled with things that I need to do. You got so-and-so is calling me on this line, and I've got demands over here, demands over there. What are some of the tips that you would recommend to those employees who are, just stressed out at work? What is something that they can kind of do immediately to start to relieve some of that pressure? We'll start with Daniel for that.
Well, the first thing I always tell, I've done workshops for, universities and different companies. The first thing I always tell them: don't love the company more than it loves you. One of the things that happens is that we get into this idea that I got to get this done. It's so much important, and not realizing that it's an organism. It don't care about you. And sometimes you get this idea about you love I love EKU, I love UK. Well, good, it don't love you, and I'm not just trying to be facetious, but it's an organism. And so, and you put in all this extra work, you get in at you're supposed to be at work, you get there at 7, and you stay in there until 7. So you're working 12 hours, but you're supposed to work 8 hours. They're only going to pay you for 8 hours. So one of the things is, first of all, never love that entity more than you love yourself. Secondly, you can only do so much in a day. And so do what you can get done. And what you can get done, it will be there tomorrow, and you'll be okay with that, because that is by design. Here at my office and what I do, and I'm sure Nate can agree with this, I can stay here and work 24 hours straight, and I'll still come back in the next day and have a ton of stuff still I need to get done. So I have to always be mindful that I'm going to work hard and do what I can do. That I can't do, I'm not going to blame myself for not doing it. I'm going to accept that as a reality. That is the reality. Only so much can get done. The other thing that I always tell people, I think it's important to make lists, write down things that you are going to work to get done that day. And once, it builds a sense of accomplishment when you can strike off things that you've done. It just builds, it makes you feel good that I can see that I'm getting some of this done. That helps. The other thing that I always tell people, make sure that you are scheduling things even during the day that you're looking forward to do, that will also allow you to have less stress during the day. And it could be a simple thing. Maybe I'm gonna call and have a 10-minute conversation with my wife. Just, because my wife, makes me feel good. Now if you're fighting with your wife, don't call her. That ain't gonna
Don't make me call your wife, Daniel. You either, Nate.
but it's, just doing those things that even during the day, and then, also during the week, it's important to stretch a thing. I was just talking with a client, and when you know that you're going to be having a big task that's going to come up, prepare for that task ahead of time. Go ahead, and if I know I'm going to start doing, working on a big project the weekend before, I will purposely do nothing. I'll just vegetate that weekend because I need to have energy to start that huge task I'm going to do. I'll also schedule. I wear a size 15, but these 15s get pedicures. Go and get, there's something good about putting my feet in that water and let that little person rub my feet. So that relaxes me. So I'm saying do things that will help you and that you're looking forward to. Those type of things really help you be less stressed and be better able to deal with the work environment. And then lastly, expect things to go unexpectedly. And what I mean by that, if you always expect every day to be good, you're setting yourself up for failure. Expect that there are going to be some unexpected things that are going to happen during the day.
Oh no, Daniel, you froze.
Are we losing him?
Me out as much.
There
Okay,
he goes.
Daniel, you froze. So we heard expect things to not always go good. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, because basically what I'm saying is that when I expect things to go well and they don't go well, it's like I'm getting sucker punched and so what I'm saying, but when I expect that, in my day, there's something's going to happen that was not on my schedule. When that happens, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm already prepared for that.
Right.
It's when you're not prepared for something that you feel like you got sucker punched. That's what I'm saying. You can better prepare for the unexpected by knowing most of us, the jobs that we have, unexpectancies occur. So why am I not expecting that to happen?
Right.
And so Nate, right before you come and give us some of your tips for handling immediate stress on the workplace, I do want to say, even today, so my guy comes and he was saying that something is happening. And so all of a sudden now I'm hosting Workforce Wednesday webinars, but it's already something expected. So I wasn't stressed out about it. Just like Daniel was saying, you expect that, if you had to do X, Y, and Z, then you'll be fine with that. Also, one of the tips that I do is and our previous speaker had talked about this too, always having a backup to the backup. Like, just in case this happens, then I'll be prepared with this. I have something that if that doesn't work out, I won't stress out. But just being prepared for things that are unexpected, like you said, Daniel. So Nate, let's go to you. Any, on the job, immediate kind of stress relievers, that kind of thing that you would offer as advice?
I would. Well, and one thing, every boss loves a person that works hard, and but sometimes up in working hard, if it's your biggest strength, then that can be your biggest weakness too. And what I mean by that, you're working so hard that it leads to burnout. And there's oftentimes I got to tell people to put your stuff down, go home. That stuff will be here tomorrow. And what I tell them, I said, if you get all of your work done, you need to be looking for a new job because the doors are probably already shut here because the work keeps coming, and you're never gonna get it all done. And that's one thing that I'll try to tell them too. We've got to stop. We got to learn ourselves. We can't burn out because even though I like for people to work hard, I also like for people to be healthy. And being burned out and being stressed is not good for the workplace. So, because if you're stressed out because you're trying to do way too much, or you're working way too hard, or too late, you're killing my culture here. I want this to be a place to where we come in, we work together, we enjoy, we have fun, and we leave and go give some good stuff to our family too. And whenever I talk to people and I know that they're stressed, one of the first things that I ask, I was like, who gets the best of you? Often people will give their best to their jobs. That ain't right. You got to give the best to your wife, to your kids. And just like Daniel said, that job's gonna keep on going, regardless if you're there or not. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family, and then you can put your job there. And I understand that you do got to pay the bills and there's stuff that you got to do. But if you taking care of all that, then the rest will fall be in place. Um, Mistakes. I know mistakes is gonna happen every day. I'm prepared for them every day. But what people don't realize too, that there's a lot of learning up in those mistakes. Sometimes we need those things to happen just so we can learn. So I embrace them. I encourage people to make them because that's the way that we learn. And if something happens, we'll fix it.
Last thing I will say, also in the job, learn to become comfortable with saying no, because no is right for you or is right for the other person. But either way it goes is right.
Saying that is a skill too that has to be learned because we've been programmed that we always have to say yes, and saying yes can get you in a whole lot of trouble. Wouldn't you say, Daniel?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and no is a complete sentence.
It is a complete sentence.
Right. Whether you accept my reasoning or not, it does not matter. My no is no.
Yep.
I love that statement there. I'm writing that down.
So we are in the final minutes of our session for today. So I do want to ask, first of all, if there are any questions coming from anyone either on Facebook or who are with us in the Zoom link today. If none, I'll go ahead and ask one of my final two questions, and that is, what is the one key point that either you, Daniel, or you, Nate, want listeners to walk away with? And I'll start with Daniel.
Well, one of the things I want all of us to always be mindful of is, take care of yourself, love yourself. Don't get caught up in believing that you're less than, that you need to, be subjected to things that are, not respectful. Also, in the job that you do, do your best, work hard, but never work so hard that you are losing sight of what it is that you're doing. The companies, entities, when we talk about loving, that we do it because we love it. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I do what I do because I really love it. Being a therapist but also love me. And I need to make sure that I am, when I go home, that I can love my wife, love my children, and so those are things are important. So the job is a necessity to provide the things that I want, not for me to lose sight and become, the job is who I am. It is what I do.
I like
Nate?
that. I want to say, if anything, I feel the best thing that you could ever do is get right with yourself, learn yourself. One thing that I never liked is being around yes people. I want people to challenge me. I want people to challenge me to grow. And that's my motto here up work. I tell all of my workers, if you don't want to grow, you got to go, because I feel like we should always be learning. We should always be growing. I think that's one of the keys up in life. And if you get to the point that you think that you know it all, then it's probably the wrong place for you. But I think that you deserve it. I think that your family deserves it in order to grow. And I think the more that we grow, the more that we learn, that life gets a lot better.
Okay. Final question is coming to you first, Nate. If individuals are in your area or they would like to connect with you and your company, how can they do that?
We have a website at questcounselingllc.com. We have a Facebook page at Quest Counseling. We have Instagram page. Through those, you could there's links in which you can click on, you can put your information in, and we will contact you. Or you could or just call us at 606-678-0026, or up at our Stanford office. It is 606-669-6031. We're taking some new clients, and we're here to help you grow. That's our motto: to educate, motivate, and navigate. And it's all about you.
Thank you. Same question to you, Daniel.
Yes, if you would like to, you can see all of our stuff on our website. It's Counseling Associates of ky.com is the website. Also, you can call the office here in Lexington, 859-278-3456. Georgetown is 502-867-1336. We have, been in business for 20 plus years. We always are eager to help, and I just encourage you to reach out to us any way that we can help. We're more than glad to do that. And help doesn't always mean that you got to do counseling. It may just simply mean that you have a question about a particular service that we might not provide, but we've been in business long enough to know who to refer you to get that service. So feel free to give us a call at any time.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Any final departing words, or did we cover everything that you thought we were going to cover? Any final thoughts from either of you?
Well, I think we both could probably talk for days, So, but I think this has been very fun. If you ever would like to have us back, I would be more than happy to.
Likewise, I would be honored to do it. And like you said, I'm a preacher, so I'm never without words.
Well, thank you all for joining me today in this session on working while Black, mental health in the workplace. Again, my name is Anissa Franklin, here with the Urban League of Lexington, and we are happy to provide the service. If anyone is interested in future webinars, feel free to go to our website or look for it on Facebook Live or Facebook, and you'll find some of our upcoming sessions there. I know one of those is the Journey to the C-Suite. So if you are interested in that, our speaker for that event will be Daryl Love. And then the next one on July 6th is actually Networking for Introverts. It is a thing. All right. So thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.